A bad hunter. A man named Harold. He was known throughout the village as a bad hunter, and this was not a title he had earned by accident. Harold's hunting expeditions were legendary for their lack of success, and his fellow villagers often found themselves wondering how one man could consistently fail to catch any prey. Harold's reputation as a bad hunter began at a young age. While other children in the village were learning the art of tracking and stealth, Harold struggled to even walk quietly through the woods. His footsteps were heavy and loud, and he often tripped over branches or got tangled in underbrush. As he grew older, Harold's hunting skills didn't improve. His aim with a bow and arrow was laughably bad, and he had a knack for scaring away any potential game with his clumsy movements. His fellow villagers would watch in disbelief as Harold would send arrows flying in all directions, missing his target by a wide margin. One day, the village elder decided that something needed to be done about Harold's hunting skills. The village depended on the meat that hunters like Harold were supposed to provide, and his constant failures were causing a food shortage. The elder called Harold to the center of the village and addressed him in front of the entire community. "Harold," the elder began, "we appreciate your efforts, but it's clear that you are a bad hunter. We cannot afford to keep relying on you for our food. If things don't improve, we may have to exile you from the village." Harold hung his head in shame, knowing that his reputation as a bad hunter had finally caught up with him. He vowed to the village elder and the entire community that he would do whatever it took to become a skilled hunter. Determined to prove himself, Harold sought the help of the village's best hunters. He asked for lessons in tracking, stealth, and archery. He practiced tirelessly, honing his skills day in and day out. His fellow villagers were skeptical, but they admired his determination. Months turned into years, and Harold's efforts began to show some improvement. His footsteps grew quieter, and his aim with a bow and arrow became more accurate. He was still far from being a skilled hunter, but he was no longer the laughingstock of the village. One day, while he was deep in the forest, Harold stumbled upon a trail of fresh tracks. His heart raced as he carefully followed the prints, hoping to catch his first game. He moved as quietly as he could, using all the skills he had learned from the village's hunters. After what felt like hours of tracking, Harold finally came upon a magnificent deer. It was a majestic creature with antlers that stretched high into the air. Harold's heart pounded in his chest as he notched an arrow and took careful aim. But just as he was about to release the arrow, a sudden gust of wind carried his scent toward the deer. The deer's head snapped up, its ears twitching in alarm. In an instant, it bounded away, disappearing into the dense undergrowth. Harold's shoulders slumped in defeat as he realized that he had once again failed. He had come so close to catching his first game, only to have it slip through his fingers. As the years passed, Harold's determination never wavered. He continued to improve his hunting skills, slowly earning the respect of his fellow villagers. While he was no longer considered a bad hunter, he was still far from being the best. One day, a great famine struck the village. Food became scarce, and the villagers were desperate. The village elder called upon the hunters to provide for the community, and they set out into the forest in search of any game they could find. Harold knew that this was his chance to prove himself once and for all. He joined the group of hunters and ventured deep into the heart of the forest. For days, they searched for any sign of prey, but the forest seemed strangely devoid of animals. Just as they were about to give up hope, Harold spotted a group of wild boars in a clearing. He signaled to the other hunters, and they quietly approached their quarry. Harold felt a surge of excitement as he notched an arrow and took aim at the largest boar. With bated breath, he released the arrow, and it flew true, striking the boar in the heart. The other hunters quickly dispatched the remaining boars, and they returned to the village with a bountiful supply of meat. The village elder praised Harold for his skillful shot, and the entire community celebrated their good fortune. Harold had finally proven himself as a capable hunter, and the village would no longer go hungry. From that day forward, Harold continued to improve his hunting skills, and he became one of the most respected hunters in the village. He had come a long way from being the bad hunter who couldn't even walk quietly through the forest. But despite his newfound success, Harold never forgot the years of failure and the determination it took to overcome them. He knew that sometimes it's not about being naturally gifted, but about the relentless pursuit of improvement and the refusal to give up, no matter how many times you fail.